Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, whatever you call it, Get Covered Illinois wants you to know that you need to enroll in a health plan before January 31st. Having health insurance is the law. If you don't get coverage, you may have to pay a penalty of $695 or more. Coverage is more affordable than you think. Most people can find monthly premiums for $75 or less. Go to getcoveredillinois.gov or call 866-311-1119 to get free in-person help. That's 866-311-1119. Enroll today.
Hey, what up?
Talk Radio.
All right, so what up? It's I94 podcast. We back live. We're trying a new format this time. We on Blog Talk Radio. So you just have to bear with us for a moment as I try to patch in my two co-hosts, which is Mumbles and Rico. So just give us a second here. But in the meantime, while we wait, I just would like to send out my condolences to the family of Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. A lot of people may not be familiar with her, but she's a staple in our community. You know, she is most famously known for her book, The ISIS Papers, and she was on the set Hidden Colors, produced by Tariq Nasheed. She passed away over the weekend, so we just want to take time out, you know, to just send our condolences to her and her family. All right, now that we're back, we just want to say Happy New Year to everybody out there. I hope everybody had a good New Year. With a New Year, so, you know, everybody has these resolutions and ideas that they want to try to get accomplished, you know, and would it be in a new year? So I wish everybody good health, prosperity, success in all future and current endeavors. I appreciate all the listeners that we have that have subscribed to our YouTube channel, which is i94 podcast. Your support doesn't go unnoticed and is greatly appreciated. So we would just like to thank everybody for their support. So still bear with me, trying to work some kinks out here so I can add on my co-hosts. Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. Yes. Go.
Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, we good to go. I don't know where Mom's at, but we on.
All right.
Yeah, so today the topic is here he come. Let me patch him in real quick. Mr. Hello.
All right.
Mr. Hello. Yeah, I know, man. I just have to work the kinks out, but we just gonna go ahead and,
Rico here too?
Yeah, he on too.
I'm in now.
Yeah, we all good. So yeah, we it's i94.
The power of technology.
Yeah, the power of technology, man. So it's i94 podcast. We back.
I need a Rico fix, man.
First, we just wanna welcome everybody into the new year. It's us. We back. We trying something different this time around with Blog Talk Radio. So again, it's me, Devo, it's Mumbles, and it's Rico. So today's topic is interracial relationships in 2016. So just like, what are y'all thoughts on interracial relationships?
This is Mumble speaking. I feel like, interracial relationships really don't bother me that much because, it's more so a personal preference or like, the cliche answer, love or whatever. And with everything going on today, I feel like interracial relationships are more so cultural and economical versus like, the obvious issues of being different races or being different color of skin and so forth. So, I'm cool with it.
Have you ever been in an interracial relationship?
No.
So, Rico, what's your views, man?
From my standpoint, I'm a believer of, I guess you can't help who you fall in love with, I guess as they would say. But me personally, would I go for an interracial relationship? I don't think I would myself. I don't have a problem against people who are in them or whatever the case is, but they do. I think they go through a lot of issues when it comes to interracial dating, just because of a lot of the prejudice and racism that happens in this world and how people are judged. So, I think that it's just something that they have to determine amongst themselves. Is the love really worth going through what they're going to go through from the outside world? But me personally, I don't have an issue with it. I know I've never been in a interracial relationship, but I've had a sexual relationship with somebody of a different race. So,
yeah, me personally, I think it's interesting because I think we have all just been tied into this whole color aspect of things, where it's like, this person's black, this person's white, this person, yellow, whatever the case is. When you really look at the essence and origin of everything, there's only really one race, which is the human race. It's just everybody has a different nationality. Me personally, I don't really think interracial relationships are realistic, especially in today's climate when you look at everything that goes on in society. I don't really know the type of conversation you'd be able to have, with someone of a different nationality when it's you and your own kind that are, dealing with the oppressions of the world. So if you date somebody of Caucasian or European descent, what is the conversation that you have when you look at a situation like a Tamir Rice? What side? It's almost like, what side do you take? How does that conversation go in a household? How do you raise kids? Where if you have a child with somebody of a different nationality, how do you teach them? What do you teach them? So I guess that's pretty much the way that I look at it. Whereas it's it makes it difficult. Yeah, we supposed to be human beings, but when you really break it down, nobody really deals with the issues that we deal with, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, if you look at the relationships, especially dealing with like black and whites, when they decide to make a child together, 9 times out of 10, the child's going to have some form of melanin in them, and they're going to be labeled as a black child or African American child, regardless of if they mother comes to school and is pure white. Like at the end of the day, I mean, the label, the stigmas that they put out here, that's what the child's going to be labeled as now. From a teaching aspect, I think they have it's best to have both parents kind of teach the reality of both sides. You mean America was built off of the racist attitude. So when you have these two races, you kind of gotta give a perspective of both. If you're a white man and you decide to be with a black woman and y'all have a mixed child, you have a responsibility to let your child know of the issues that that child may go through that you may not be able to help them on, or you may not be able to come forward to do certain things for them just because they may experience they're going to experience a different world than what you experience just because of how they look and how they view. So, I mean, giving that child that reality of how the past plays from a color perspective, the parent has to do. Like, I think it's a lot of interracial kids who have a perception that's not realistic just because of the household that they're in. So it takes for them to go through a certain situation, a racial situation, to kind of see that there's a difference in how they look. Because if they go their whole life living in, if I think about it like this, I'm a black man and I got a white wife and we live in a white neighborhood and, that's all we know, and we got like a few black friends here and there, they're going to believe, most of the time they're going to believe the world is peachy keen. Like, because that's what they was raised around, and that's what they believe. But
that's true.
If they experience a racial situation, like when they go off into the real world, because you consider go off to the real when you do decide to go off to college, or you just go to a trade school and you kind of get out here on your own when you don't live in your parents' household, you're gonna come across those situations. And when they come across it, if the parents didn't really prep them on it or like give them actual knowledge of it, man, they're gonna have a harsh reality and they ain't gonna know how to deal with themselves. Because it's gonna be a side of them that's all. It's gonna be a side of them that's always tugging. They not gonna know which side I didn't talk with. I just have my mom's side, or I didn't have my dad's side. But to be honest with you, the entire world is a biracial melting pot. Like even though we black, like I guarantee you, if we did a historical look behind our past to see from our ancestors, I guarantee you we all got some form of another race as an ancestor.
Exactly, I agree. I feel as though like with interracial dating, it's not just black and white. It could be Asian, Hispanic, Jewish, Russian, whatever. So there's always going to be cultural boundaries with identity within the child, not within the actual couple dealing with, worldly issues. Yes, it's going to be kind of like a strenuous, like a touchy subject, because regardless of what's going on in this country, you could be married to a Russian and they could be going to war over there and they could feel some type of way, and you might not understand it. So I think just basically educating and, explaining what's going on is basically the best thing that you can do for both parties, because whether you dating somebody of the opposite race or not, it's no different from that person that's out there marching with the protesters for Sandra Bland, because they still feel that that's wrong. At the end of the day, they just not black. But I feel like when you...
But how are you able to identify with that, though? No, you good. I'm just saying, like, so is that something that you feel like is when you think about people that make the decision to enter into a quote-unquote interracial relationship, is it based on your upbringing? Is it based on your environment? Because me, myself, personally, I'm from East St. Louis, so I grew up pretty much growing up with all people of the same nationality, which happened to be quote-unquote black. So I went to school with people that look like me, whereas other people who may have grown up in a diverse neighborhood, they may have grown up with people of a European descent. So that's something that they don't really see as really being an issue. So what part does your upbringing play in partaking in an interracial relationship?
To me, it plays a huge part. I feel like it's the major part, because regardless if you black or white or Hispanic or whatever, if you're not in that environment, you don't know what's going on. I could be black, but I could live in a predominantly white neighborhood, and I can see the stuff that's going on in Chicago and be like, dang, that's messed up. Like, I'm not able to identify with that because that wasn't how I was brought up. That wasn't what I was around. So I think it's 100% your culture, how you brought up, and like economics, like, because growing up, you know, from kindergarten to 8th grade, I was all black. I mean, I had like white teachers and so forth like that, authority figures. But then once I went to high school, I became integrated with Hispanics and Caucasians for the next 4 years, and that taught me a lot because I learned similarities like, okay, yeah, he looks different. We may dress different, but he listens to the same music. Or his mom is struggling to make money just like mine. Or he speaks a different dialect, or he eats different food. But aside from the obvious cultural differences, we have a lot of similarities also. And then a lot of times, too, depending on how close you are with other cultures, they don't even discuss cultural views like that with you because they don't know their boundaries, or if they don't understand, or maybe they'll just, you know, pull you to the side and be like, hey, like all that stuff I'm reading in the news and seeing on TV, like, is that stuff true? Like, is that what really happened over there? And then you know, if you explain it to them, then it's like, oh, okay, they understand, and they go on about their business. But with a lot of, you know, Hispanics, whites, not all, but a lot of them, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. Because a lot of white people, they don't even have TVs in their house. I mean, they still know what's going on, but you know what I'm saying. So it's like they just be oblivious to what's going on. Like, oh, okay, it is what it is. Because
I mean,
you know what I'm saying. And let's be honest,
ignorance really is bliss.
Right, and let's be honest, this stuff been going on in Chicago for years, for centuries. So it's like now all of a sudden it's just brought to the forefront because there happen to be police, and it's just what the media is focusing on right now. That's how I feel.
I'm not gonna say white people are oblivious to it because
I can't say that either. I can't even roll with that.
I can't.
Not in 2016. Not in 2016. Nah.
Like they completely aware. Even if they don't have TVs, they know what the hell is going on because they got some form of a media outlet. I mean, they got talk radio, they got radio. Let's do. I'm pretty sure when they go to work, they got family members, they got friends. I got somebody that's giving them some source of media outlet to know kind of what's going on in this world. And then on top of that,
I'm telling y'all, it's not a lot, but it's a small minimum of them that seriously do not know what's going on. They stay in their bubble.
I give you that. I give you that. But to say that they're oblivious, you're oblivious by choice, though.
Yeah, I can give you that. Though. I mean, because you got to think about it. If I was white and I mean my world was all gravy, peachy keen, and my peoples weren't getting shot, I mean I'd be oblivious too. I mean, like I'd be like that's real though. That ain't nothing else.
I just feel like Armenians, Jews, you know what I'm saying, certain other, you know, maybe some Hispanics, like they not oblivious, but they don't really care about that stuff. You know what I mean? Some Asians, like they not checking for what's going on like that.
Because you're not in the position
especially if they're not.
You're not in the position to where you have to.
But that's true. Right now.
Yeah.
I think you know what. I think a lot of it goes back to, especially when it pertains to black people. I think a lot of it goes back to slavery. I know people hate to, you know, keep bringing it up, but you think about it. Just even on an elementary level with kids. I mean, Rico, you and I got kids, right? Even mamas, you got young nieces and nephews. When you tell kids that they can't do something, that makes them want to do it that much more, right?
Right.
They want to try you. They want to test you to see why they can't do it. So you look at, you know, how black people were told, you know, to stay away from a white woman. You couldn't even look at a white woman. So where it's like, okay, but why? So now I'm almost to the point where it's like, but I want to know why I can't. So now I'm interested. I'm curious about, you know, why I was told to stay away. And I think that the psychology of it plays a huge part of why we see a lot of black men, marrying or dating, quote unquote white women?
I agree somewhat, but not fully, because I feel like, we always got like the Emmett Till thing, but at the end of the day, I feel like, again, it's a personal preference, because if I was brought up in a predominantly white neighborhood, went to predominantly white school, college, et cetera, that's what I'm going to be attracted to, because that's all I'm going to know.
Mm-hmm. We see that all the time. We see that all the time.
Right. And then you have most black men who come into money and who have these, 6+ figure jobs. What are they around? What do they see? You know what I mean? And that was like the early stages. So now in 2016 was trending. You have black women making 6+ figures, and who are they dating? They're gearing more towards white men.
But are they?
Or they're gearing towards more, other type of men, because black men aren't making what they're making, and so that hinders that relationship.
And what's the reason why though? That black men are not making what they're making? Because
black men are in college.
Nah, I wouldn't say all that either. But I would say that the way the white supremacy has this system set up, man, the percentage of blacks to be in those type of positions and of that power structure, you probably will never see. You know what I mean? You got to think about the motto divide and conquer. If you look at let's bring the introduction of welfare into play. When they brought the welfare system for the underprivileged, or that which was mostly for blacks, one of the big things they said was that you could not have a man in the household, right? So if you got most of the people who are underrepresented in employment, who lack a certain amount of education, who are just like the lowest on the totem pole, but I'm gonna give you what you need to survive, and I have to take this man out the household. What you gonna do? So it's survival of the fittest. So opposed to being in love with the man, you're going to say, all right, I don't need that man. Off with the man, then. Right?
I agree. But that's what I'm saying. So if you go back to the system, it's mainly because men aren't being educated, which means we're not going to college. Men aren't being able to get jobs because we're being incarcerated. Men aren't being able to do neither because we're being killed. So therefore, the pickings as black women get older, the pickings get slimmer. So they're forced to then deviate outside of dating a black man or marrying one.
Okay. But if you think about it, it's like Rico said, the main reason for it is because of white supremacy, and that is something that a lot of people are in denial about. When you break us down, right? So if me being a black man, or quote unquote black man, if I go in and I make with a woman of European descent, when that child comes out, that child is not going to look like of European descent. And you don't think that the powers that be know that shit?
Of course not.
This is all. At the end of the day, it's all about survival. Whenever you get done, we're trying to survive.
It's about survival, and it's about what people in family origins like to leave as far as like legacy and stuff like that, or something that's in reference. Because don't mind you, like when I have my kids, like if I was to die tomorrow, I got 3 biological kids that's mine. If I leave tomorrow, those 3 kids, it's gonna be something you're gonna be like, man, that's Rico all the way. They look like Rico. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they do this like Rico, or whatever the case is. But when you get into the form of interracial, like if I was a white man and my daughter had brought a black man home, and then they had most of the time anything about those kids is not gonna look like me, so it's like I'm erased to a certain degree. I mean, I get the fact that I got a son, I got a daughter, but in this interracial portion of it, it's like my portion of me, legacy-wise, and they mind, I feel like it seems like it's erased. I mean, that ties into what Dr. Francis was saying about why racism is what it is today. Mm-hmm. Because if you mix somebody with someone that has a high rate of melanin and they decide to have a child together, then that's going to cause some friction in your mind and in your mental, and it's also going to do something to your spiritual. So that's a warfare that the Caucasian has to deal with for the most part. Because no matter what you do, if you mix a black with a lot of people with any race or with something that's light appeal, they're going to come out with some form of melanin. We're the only ones that have the ability to actually do that,
to produce everybody else.
Yeah, so if I had an ability to, if I was a person on the other end seeing that and you could come in and kind of do that, I wouldn't want you to date mine either. I wouldn't want it to be no part of it. I guarantee you, go interview anybody that's white and ask them would they mind having black grandkids. They're probably going to tell you hell to the no. Now, if they have them already, they're going to love them because a child doesn't.
That's not all the way true though. I disagree with that.
All right.
Well, speak to it.
No, this is what I'm saying. I agree to disagree with the whole white supremacy, and just because someone's in an interracial marriage or relationship, that doesn't mean that their family accepts it. Their family still doesn't accept them.
Yeah,
basically,
I know.
Right. So it doesn't. So just because they have kids with them, they don't mean like, oh, they're gonna love them. They're still gonna say no. If they don't agree with it, then they don't agree with it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I get that. I see it in some situations, not all. In some situations.
But I'm just saying, like, with the whole like race thing, I feel like, to me that's looking too much into it, because I feel like it's a personal preference. Like, if you want to date white, Hispanic, or whatever, then that's what you choose to date. I mean, in some instances, you have a lot of immigrants in this country, example, Russians, who come to this country with no green card. So what they do is they ask men of any race to marry them so they can get a green card. Sometimes these marriages...
Wait, you said men?
These marriages...
Or did you get women?
The women, they ask men... Yeah, women ask men to marry them. Sorry, let me clarify that. Russian immigrant women ask men to marry them, you know what I mean, so they can get their green card. Now, sometimes these marriages do work, sometimes they don't. It's just basically a business transaction. Sometimes they have kids, sometimes they don't. So I feel like at the end of the day, it's still a personal preference. Of course, yes, there is white supremacy. Yes, there is racism, and yes, there is I don't care, like, you will never be with a black dude, and you have some black people who feel like, yeah, you will never be with a white person because slavery and all that. But at the end of the day, it's a personal preference, and it's all about who you want and which you choose to be with.
I agree. I think it is a personal preference, but I also think that personal preference is based on your economics. And the reason I say that is because if you're only raised around a certain group of people, that's what you're going to see. And that will become your personal preference. It won't be just by choice. It'll be because that's the environment that you're in. So I believe that your environment has a lot to do with a lot of the choices, you know what I'm saying, that you make. Like, for myself, example, I'm pretty sure if I would have grown up around a different nationality other than my own, that's probably who I would end up with. You know what I'm saying? And even the way that I was raised, like, my mama would never like, boy, you can't bring no white girl home. But at the same time, it really wasn't something that was like, okay, yeah, go ahead and go out and date, and, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Me, the way I looked at it was like I wanted to, date somebody that reflected my own mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, certain people look at that as being, discriminatory or something that's, negative, but that's just the way that I see it. Like, how could I bring somebody home that really didn't reflect the same woman that gave me life?
And I
think that all goes back to your environment, though.
Right. And so, you have a little boy named Jonathan. Jonathan grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, black household. Jonathan, however, isn't your typical black boy or guy or whatever.
You mean white boy?
He's kind of different. Yeah. Black women don't find him attractive. So what is Jonathan to do if his own race and own women don't find him attractive or don't deem him worthy enough to be with them? Then what should Jonathan do?
I see that. Because everybody needs some type of love, and I think that
I get that though, but it's some black men out here and women.
I'm agreeing.
You know
I'm
what I'm
agreeing
saying?
with you.
Okay.
Okay. You listen, I'm agreeing.
You know what I'm saying?
Everybody needs some type of love.
Needs love.
But what I'm saying is that what you have the issue with, when, to your point, in agreeing with you, just so you know I'm agreeing with you, that our race is known to be very, very, very judgmental. And, I mean, it's a big thing as far as being judgmental and being materialistic. And when you look at some of the situations and how people raise their kids, everybody don't click and identify with some of the things that people bring to the table, from your style of dress, the way you look, your style of hair, your style of, you know what I'm saying, your shoes, whatever the case is. So, like, if you were raised in that environment and you wasn't, let's say you wasn't a person that was into, like, you know, what's the Robin jeans and, you know, the name brand shirt and stuff like that. Like, if you get around true black sisters or you know, African Americans, women, then they judge you sometimes based off that before they even get an opportunity to know you. So, and then some of them, if you try to approach them also, even if you approach them in a respectable manner, they downplay you to the fact to where you can't even get an opportunity in a door to grow something with that person. Opposed to sometimes when you meet a white woman, they'll just have a random conversation with you just off the
I agree.
I'm serious. Like, it'll be
the
most random conversation with you just based off of nothing,
pure
nothingness. And then that, think about that. If I was black and that was happening to me, and then we conversed, had a regular conversation, and then we exchanged numbers, and then something grew from it. She didn't judge me based on whatever clothes I had on, whatever it was. She just got to know me, and that's where the love that I'm gonna probably see it, because that's where the love is coming from. You know what I mean? So I definitely agree. I mean, with that standpoint. So that's why I say I don't knock some of the people who are in relationships, but some people make it a set point to go after that because they feel like all else fails with their own race. And I think for a lot of people too, it's beneficial too. It's a business transaction.
Like we spoke to earlier. You know what I'm saying? Like when you look at professional people, quote unquote, when you look at athletes, you look at entertainers, it's not a coincidence that most black men end up with white women. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas on the other end, you're not seeing no Marilyn Monroe's. You're not seeing no Gwyneth Paltrow's come marrying no Tyrone's. You're not seeing that shit. Cause young white girls are taught from as young as they are, you marry within your own. You ain't bringing that up in here. Period, point blank. But when it comes to black men, it's like you raised by your mama, who probably already has some type of feelings towards black men because your father probably not in the house. So you already have a kind of a disdain towards your mother, where it's like all black women, all they do is they nag, they complain, they bossy, they want to control everything. Whereas this white woman, she's submissive as hell. I come home, my dinner ready. You know what I'm saying? She going to take care of me. She ain't going to be all up in my face trying to be confrontational. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but when you look at the numbers of how many black men deal with white women, it got to be something to it.
But that also
me personally,
stems from, like, you know, culture too, though. But I see what you're saying, though. I agree with you to a point. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's you know what? It was a video. It was a video on Facebook where it talked about that white women are more submissive versus black women. Yeah, and I just think it's interesting.
It showed the tone, the voice of how they was talking when it was with their actual mate. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, but I think, you know, a lot of the reasons why our women get the stigma or the reputation for, you know, being, you know, sassy or, you know, being demonstrative or, you know, all of this is because of everything, you know, we've had to deal with in society. When you have a system in place that pretty much deliberately takes the man out of the house, as a woman, all of their responsibility falls on your shoulder. So you have no choice but to be strong. So it's almost like by default, you know, black women are put in a position to where they don't even really know how to be submissive because they've had to be everything. So when you do deal with a man...
That boy's down Willie Lynch. That's what that boy's down to.
Pretty much.
That boils down to that because, I mean, in Willie Lynch letter, he specifically tells you that they'll take the strongest male, break him down in front of the women,
and the nigga,
and the children. So therefore, what you do is when you make the two, if you make the male with the woman and they have a child, and you separate the two from each other, the woman has no choice but to be strong because the man is no longer there. So then what's going to happen is the woman is going to teach, she has a daughter, she's going to teach the daughter the same value of being strong and not necessarily needing a man. And if she has a man, she's going to probably teach him to be strong, but the emotional portion of it is not going to be there because he didn't get the right teachings of a man from his father to know how to treat a woman. All he had was what his mama told him. So it's a missing piece there in that segment regardless. So I think that's what is what you kind of see it happening in media and social outlets today is that, think about it, when you see growing up as a man, you always be a man trying to be so strong and you don't need no woman. It's about money over bitches, da da da. You know, all the little dumb shit that men do. If a man shows that he's in love with a woman, it means that he's soft. Or,
he weak.
He weak. And same thing go for and then you got to understand that when you got a man being that way and a woman is seeing that that's how the majority of men are acting, what they gonna do? They gonna either turn to a woman for their love or just ride with their chicks or their girls or you know what I mean? Like it's always gonna be some form of disconnect in between the two, and that's what we see on social networks and social media every day. Like all the time, constantly. Or like if you got a dude that mess with a lot of chicks, like, you know, he not in love. He's not looking for love, not searching for love. He just mess with a lot of chicks. He bounce from bed to bed. So then the emotional detachment is always there. I think once you do that for so long, some men have so long, they don't even know how to love because they never really been taught.
We haven't properly been taught how to love.
Yeah. So, I think that's what the main problem is, why you see people kind of breaking off, going into interracial relationships as well. Because I seen the status today just before we got on this call. A girl I used to talk to put up a picture that said she was looking for her Jim, her John, or something like that. Like had a picture of like a white man, right? She's like she was taking all applications and this and that, and me knowing, I kind of know a little about her history just because I've known her for so long and the interaction she's had with black men, including myself, not being so good, that I can kind of see why she kind of was flipping to that to actually put that status up because, you know, she reaching that threshold. Mugs is getting to that point to where they like 30, you know, and 30 and up. So it's like, man, my race and my men I'm coming across not working. So, you know, I'm going to switch off and see if this works real quick. Like,
yeah,
maybe that man
again, personal preference.
Yeah, maybe that man know how to value me because I'm not gonna lie. Like I grew up in. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say who do you think benefits more in interracial relationships, men or women?
It depends to me.
On what?
I would say the man.
Yeah, I guess you could say yeah.
But what man would it be, the white man or the black man?
I'll probably say the white man.
How so?
I say the white man because I mean, in essence, you know, all men have a character trait of supposedly trying to be strong and dominant. So a man more so kind of can deal with what comes from the backlash or whatever negativity may come from dealing with interracial relationship, opposed to a woman who may take some backlash from it. That's just my personal standpoint. Can't give an exact reason why, but I just feel like a man is more strong and kind of can benefit more from it. It's not gonna really change his place and growth in society. Like if he owns a company, wants to buy a company, if he wants to go into a situation where he wants to get a loan for something, all that stuff. Like if he was going there with his black wife, it would not change his situation. Opposed to how when you had the women's right movement beforehand, women are already judged less of looked at from a man's world of being a weaker creature. So if you have a white woman with a black man, she's gonna take a little bit more backlash to where it may be some things that may be become more restraint on her because of her choice to be in that relationship.
I can see that.
That's why. That's my reason behind it.
I think it's interesting. Yeah, Mamas, you can go ahead and get your spell on it.
I mean, I feel like it depends on why that person is dating the other race in the first place. I feel like to me that's whoever benefits. So like if it's a black woman dating a white man, I feel like she's benefiting because she's getting what she's not getting from the black man, which is stability on, you know what I mean, emotionally, physically, financially, etc. I feel like if a white man, I feel you stupid. I feel like if a white man is marrying a black woman, you know, I think like he's a more kind of diverse individual himself to begin with. He doesn't stick to his norm.
So cliche.
So
yeah, I get that.
He's being, you know what I mean. He's being more, you know, he's basically just fulfilling his thrill. You know what I mean. But actually,
well, you know,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, you know, they label that some people who seek out the interracial relationships, they label that as a fetish. That's what we're saying.
Oh, of course. Definitely. But, you know, a lot of white men now are marrying Asian women because that's like the new trend now. They're not even like marrying white women because of Asian women.
They even more submissive from what I've heard.
Exactly. They're more submissive. They're submissive. They're you know, they like their body type. To them they're like their form of being exotic. So now, you know, it just makes it more hard on the black woman. You know, I feel bad for our sisters because we got white women after black men, you got other black women, you got men after men, you got transgender. you just got so much. Like black women got so much like to fight for out here. Like I be feeling for them seriously. So it's like,
no, that's
well, all
real.
these white women finna date now. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. It's almost like it's like a constant wave, but the races that don't deter too far from each other are like Jews, you know what I mean, Assyrians, Arabians, and Mexicans. Like, you know, like they stay with their own. They stay within their community. Like they all about the family and community. Like that's what comes first in their culture. Like no matter what, they don't bend for money or nothing. And you know, I mean, it is what it is.
I don't see nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? I think
and if they do step outside their boundaries, it ain't a black.
I just think, you know, I think being that we are in a different, you know, time in the world, I do think it's more accepting, I'll say, today outside of, you know what I'm saying, your culture. And I say that because I go back, you know, to a time where it was against the law, you know, for us to intermingle with white women. You know what I'm saying? You could be killed like Emmett Till was for whistling at a white woman. So I think for a lot of black men at that time, they were afraid of white women to where it's like you wanted to be as far away from them as possible. But on the flip side, you probably had those men that wanted to do something with a white woman just out of the pure frustration or the pure just
Like Rico said,
think about it.
Rico said it's a fetish.
Yeah, and it's forbidden. Think about it. Like if your parent, if you're a child and you love cookies, right? And your parent put a fucking cookie jar on the counter, but they go out to wherever, you know they're not coming back. You're gonna try to sneak a bite of a cookie, a taste of the cookie, a smell of the cookie, whatever the case is. So if you put something in front of me and you tell me that it's off limits and it looks remotely enticing, like as soon as I don't see you around, I don't have you there, I'm gonna try to take a sniff, a bite, a hit, whatever the case is. Like I want that cookie. That's that white woman. Like.
Yeah, I mean, but that's true though, because for so long throughout history we've been told this is something that we cannot have, but it's been thrown in our face. You think about it; white women have always for so long been the standard by which, you know, men and women base success. For a black woman, you got to have long blonde hair. For black men, you got to have a woman of the fair skin, which is why you see a lot of dark-complected men with fair-skinned women. Because for so long, that's all we've had to use as an example to say, if you want to be successful, this is what you should aspire to have. Even though you can't touch this white woman, if you do want to get you a woman, she got to look like her.
But in response to that, then you have the darker skinned sisters who suffer, but you got white men who looking at that dark skin as like something that they got to try to get.
And I can't even blame them, man, because let me tell you something. I ain't never been with nobody but a black woman, and it ain't no type of feeling than getting some love from a black woman. I mean, I just, like, I can't speak to, dealing with nobody else, but it ain't no better feeling. It's not.
Hey, man, I only been with one white woman.
She understands your struggle, you know what I'm saying? She understands, all the issues, you know what I'm saying, that you deal with. She gives you a different level of confidence.
Again, I'm gonna just say it's a personal preference because I love women in general, man. It's beautiful women all across the world, and it's just one of those, like, every woman, regardless of race, brings something different to the table and a different level of, whatever you feeling or want to feel. So I'm not going to say one race is better than the next. But, again,
have you been with a white woman?
Huh?
Have you been with a white woman?
Oh, of course, yes.
Okay, so you could do a compare and contrast. on what you had and what you've encountered, you can do a compare and contrast.
Okay, so basically, I would say if we're speaking sexually, I would basically say the main thing different between black women and other races are that other races are more explore. Yeah, they let you explore things more. They're willing to try things, and they're more free, more open, whereas black women aren't. Period.
Okay.
Point blank. You know what I mean? It's one of those. Anything you can think of that comes to your mind or that you want to ask a black woman, you know she's gonna say no. But with a white, Asian, Hispanic, you can say that.
We can try it. Sure,
they will try it. They'll be willing. They will be willing to try it. Like, why not? Because all of those races, and this is no knock to black women, but all of those races, their number one mission is to please their partner.
Please their man.
They're there to please you. They're there to please you. I've had discussions with white women and Hispanic women who say if their boyfriend or husband wants sex and they aren't in the mood for sex, they'll just give them head and do other things to them just to please them or have them set up so then they can go and do whatever they want to do.
So black women don't do that more?
Something as simple as, no, not to my knowledge. But black,
I'm not gonna say I'm not.
They're not just handing that out like that so freely. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm being honest.
I don't know. I've come across some black women who have been like that.
Perspective. That's true.
Yeah,
I think it just depends on the person.
Which is true. But I'm speaking from like a general consensus because mainly if a black woman, you know what I mean, if she's not promiscuous, you know, in order for you to get fellatio, you know, you might have to be like, you know, we gotta be married or we gotta be in a real committed relationship, or it's almost like it's levels to it. But
it is.
You know, white women give you a blowjob before they even kiss you. Like that's nothing to them.
But that's acceptable.
But you gotta no. I wouldn't say it's acceptable, but you gotta think about it though. It's because of how they're raised. White girls are raised by their mothers to be this way, whereas black women, they raising their daughters, if anything, to just try to survive. Like, so you coming from a whole different aspect where I think for when it comes to black women, because again, you have to throw in the dynamic, there isn't a man in the house to give that balance. So from a black woman standpoint, raising a young black girl, she's teaching her and giving her tools to survive, whereas a white woman is giving her daughter the tools to go out and get a husband.
I mean, I look at it this way too, though. I see the difference, but I look at it more so like black women are raised to not be that way. They're raised to not be promiscuous.
We don't have,
it's wait for marriage, wait for this, wait for that, et cetera, whether it's a man in the house or not. That's how I feel. Black women are like, no, you a lady, conduct yourself this way. You only do that, you only act like that if you married, XYZ, XYZ. Whereas white women, they raised different. So that's nothing. That's
so you pretty much saying they practicing early.
Yeah, of course.
They making sure they're gonna be ready for the game, huh?
Of course. I mean, think about it. Think about it. Okay. Most, not nowadays, but back then, okay, white women figures, they weren't voluptuous. They didn't have the assets of a black woman. So how are they keeping this black man? That's all I'm saying. How are they keeping him in tune, keeping him sexually? How are they doing that? They're doing something.
I see what you're doing.
You know what I'm saying? So like that's my thing. And if if y'all ain't never experienced that, then man. But if you have, then you kind of have a better idea. Like, okay, like Becky be getting down. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's different forms of fashion. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? You got a white girl and her friend, they'll kiss and be willing to get it cracking with you. Whereas two black women who are friends, they're not gonna do that. They'll sleep with you, but not together. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
But true. There's a certain, it's certain cases. But I'm just speaking to like the simple everyday girl, not prostitutes or hoes. And I'm just speaking about the everyday black woman versus the everyday white woman. The everyday white woman is willing to go a little bit further sexually than the black woman, I feel.
And to keep a man's attention, I mean, sex is a big part of it. So I can agree with that. I mean, everything else. Don't get me wrong, love and all that stuff is all good, but at the end of the day, everything still eventually boils down to sex to a certain degree. So,
especially when it comes to men, because we are so physical. I don't give a damn what type of
exactly.
you come from. When you cut us all open, we all got the same parts, and we all want the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. And it's like, okay, like usually with like white women or other races, they experiment in college. They always hit a myth. They always see porn, or they always go see strippers. Like, oh, black men have huge penises. I want to see what that's like. Or it's like taboo, or it's like a fetish, or it's like a cross off their bucket list sometimes.
Jungle
but
fever.
Then it's like when they once they graduate college though, they like become right back to that white supremacy. Like, I've never been with a black guy. Like, it's like all that's erased for some of them, not all of them, but and that's why I say it goes back to economics, environment, and culture, because you have certain cities and states where that's all you see is, biracial relationships and biracial couples. It's just become the norm now because we have same-sex marriages. So we have people dressing like men. We have same-sex marriages is like legal now. So it's like biracial, biracial couples is like, who cares nowadays? Like, people shouldn't even be tripping over that. Even
it's almost like an
afterthought,
pretty much.
Yeah, but some people, they still do. I even once had a white girl tell me, like, I really like you, I would love to date you, but I know I can't bring you home. And then I said, oh, your family going to be tripping? I said, why, because your parents or something be tripping? She's like, no, not my parents, my grandparents. And I love them too much, too.
Probably used to own your damn daddy shit.
Exactly. But she was just like, I love and care about them too much to have them upset at me. So I said, you know what, all right, that's cool. I understand that. You know what I mean? It was what it was, because I'm not going to force you to do something that you don't feel comfortable doing. But you know, it's
you know what? It's not even feeling
different.
comfortable. It's really going against family values because you really have those families that feel like, you know what,
right.
depending on where you grew up in the world, that's just something that we really for. You know what I'm saying? And they don't even really be from, you know, a bad standpoint. It's just that that's just not what we practice, and that's not a part of our culture. It's not to say that I hate this group of people. Now, you do have some that do, but at the same time, you know, it's just not a part of who they.
Because that's their legacy. They trying to survive. They trying to preserve their legacy.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And that's what I had to understand too. Like, as much as we trying to preserve our legacy, they're trying to do the same thing. Like, yeah, we, like, you know what I mean? Of course, they have, or we have the obvious, you know what I'm saying, issues if we date outside our race, but they have issues too. So anytime I do see a biracial couple, I just commend them because I know the daily struggles that they go through with not just outsiders, but their own families too. So, like, that's a lot. Like, you really got to be feeling that person.
That's why I said they got to be mentally prepared for it. That's why I said they got to be mentally prepared for explaining that to their children. Because, I mean, they're going to have to explain the harsh reality of how, you know what I'm saying, on both sides.
How America's going to view you.
Yeah, like, I was white, I'm your daddy, I'm white. You know, my people used to do this, and that to your mother, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you got to break that down and just kind of tell them, but we don't. I
feel like if I was to marry a white woman and have biracial kids, I would at least try to move into a more diverse and multicultural type of area. Yeah.
Okay. Like, if I get with a white woman, we going to the south side of the Chi. Get that. This is where we stay.
You know what,
we
though?
We stay on 88th and Lafayette.
White girls on the side, I like, they just like hood. They just like basically hood light skin shit. Like, real talk. They like trailer trash. They wear baby fat, a lot of makeup, and Nike.
For me growing up, man, I ain't gonna lie, man. Before I went to college, man, I was always kind of fearful of dating a white woman or kind of messing with a white woman just because of the situations that I read in history about, you know, what happened to black men when they deal with white women. You know, you always hear stories about a black man who messed up with a white woman and then she, it was rape, or if she said it was a situation where it was forced and all this other stuff, then, you getting thrown under the jail and then some. You know what I mean? So, like, because of the racial barriers, I didn't want it to be an issue where we did something consensually, and then because it got out, or, you was called or your parents didn't like it or whatever, you just say it was forced or this happened. I've heard the situation could always just go south for me being a black man. So I kind of always tried to kind of stay away from it. I had some white girls I used to talk to, know of, was real cool with, but I used to never try to press it to a sexual thing just out of fear of my life, for the most part.
Me personally, I just never felt comfortable. Like, even when I got to SIU, you know what I'm saying, like, just even trying to engage in conversations with them, it was just like that wasn't really something that I, just felt okay with doing. Not that I was afraid of them, but it was just like I didn't really see them the same way as I saw a black woman. And maybe they had to do a lot with, how I grew up and, where I grew up and, who I was around. But that's what I became comfortable with my own. You know what I'm saying? When it came to somebody else, it was like, yeah, I can speak to you, but when it comes to, I'm not going to talk to you the same way that I talk to my own sister, if that make any sense. Like, I'm just not, like,
no,
you
it
know
does,
what I'm saying?
It's so true boundaries because you don't feel comfortable. That's what I'm saying.
We had in my high school, we had white people in my high school, and we had maybe a couple, not too many, in my middle school that I went to. But I had the first white girl that I was just real close to was a chick by the name of Tracy. And I knew her parents were kind of like how Mama said old girl was, like, I can't really bring you home type of ordeal. But
like
I
deal
used
with
to
you.
just ride.
I smash.
Yeah, like I used
to home.
I used to ride my bike over to Tracy's crib and just kind of just sit and talk with her a lot, just about, school, life, whatever the fuck she had going on and shit like that. But when I got towards college, like, college was so diverse. It was much more that I experienced in my classrooms and dealing with projects, doing projects with them, going out and working with them. Like when I got to experience them more so on that level, I always felt like, okay, I could kick it with them to this degree, but I didn't feel like it was nothing I could really take to be like a serious like friendship or like something just super serious on what you would call a friend. Like I don't have white friends. Like I have white associates, people that I know that's like
right.
What's considered to be a white friend, somebody I talk to on a daily about what's going on in Black lives, what's going on.
That's coming up in your house.
Yeah, I don't have it.
If you ain't been to my crib and we ain't broke bread at the table, we ain't friends. We're associates.
Right. I know you in the past, and so like it just becomes a little taboo, as you would say, when it comes to the racial barriers of dealing with people and interracial relationships and kind of mixing that. So I mean, more power to the people that do it. If that's what floats your boat, it's great. But on my end, I mean, I just always had that stigma with it myself, and then I always like to stick to kind of what I know, because I do agree with Devo. Ain't nothing like the love of that black woman, though, man. That's just, that is.
I'll tell you, man, it's not because she understand your struggle. Where it's like, with white women, you hate to say it, but they are some privileged individuals for the majority of them. Now, you do have them that grow up, you know what I'm saying? They grow up not having a lot. They don't really have a lot of, economic, stability or whatever the case is. But we talking about regular white women. They don't go on vacation. They go summer at Martha's Vineyard. Nigga, she ain't bringing Tyrone to Martha's Vineyard.
You bring Tyrone to Martha's Vineyard, you ain't going no more years after that.
None.
You ain't invited back. She can't come back. She's still with that Tyrone. She can't come back here.
And I think, too, at the same time, it's like when you're dealing with a black woman, me and Rico can speak to this, when you fall on hard times as a man, that's probably the worst type of emotion you will ever experience. But to know that you have a black woman that is there by your side to support you, to kind of pick up the slack where she can, and she's not really judging you because of that, you know what I'm saying? It instills some type of confidence in you to let you know, like, damn, she really is down for me. Whereas a white woman is like, I mean, dude, you don't trust her? Like, what the hell?
I feel like that's I agree with everything with what y'all saying about black women, but I mean that's white women too, man. I just feel like with other races, the more I be around them and get to know them, they're just extremely different from black women. Like their ideology, their views, their points, how they view relationships, how they handle things, everything is just totally different, and it's just so out of the norm from what I'm used to and what I'm used to seeing and being around. It's just mind blowing, but it's interesting at the same time, because like for example, if you ever go out and you see a white couple, the white chick could be dressed like she going to the club. Let's just say going to a restaurant, TGI Fridays or something. She could be dressed like she going to a nightclub, and the dude could literally have on some holy jeans or sweatpants, some thong sandals, a T-shirt, and a baseball hat. And she won't care. She won't care. It's like they literally tell me, like, I don't care what he looks like or how he dresses. It's all about how he treats me. And I said, that shit's dope. You could be driving a piece of shit. It doesn't matter though. You know what I'm saying? Like. And that just mind boggles me because they'll ask me like, well, why do you wear this, or why are your shoes so clean? I said, because that's what women like. That's what they want to see. They want, like, if my shoes ain't clean, and if I don't take care of my shoes, how I'm gonna take care of you? And then she looked like, oh well, I mean, they're just shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't get it. It's just they're just really different.
Because I think that speaks to the values that they have that are different from our values. Like the way we value certain things, they not valuing the same things. Like with tennis shoes, most motherfucking white people ain't really thinking about if you got on some $20 Jordans tonight, they'll go buy you your own pair of shit. You want these J's? All right, come on, let's go. I got daddy's car. Let's go to the mall. Where a black woman, I ain't buying your ass no shoes so you can walk away from me in them damn shoes.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? So
I think
to
it
me,
is
like,
interesting though.
That's my biggest thing. That I learn about them every day. Like, if you just have a general conversation with them about relationships and about women and a lot of stuff that black women do, they just don't understand. And it's like you just have to like teach them that knowledge. And you know what I mean, they'll be like, oh, okay, and either they'll say, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I just don't understand I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean, from the way that they dress to how they act to everything. So it's just, to me, like those are like just the main differences, are like the cultural things, you know, when it's Hispanic women, you know, from how their family values to how they speak Spanish, and you know what I mean, so much other things. But like when they go hard for their men too. They ride or die for their men like no other. Puerto Rican women are crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of them. It's like women in general have that love and to hold you down. I'm not gonna say just black women do that. You know what I'm saying? But you know, again, it's just huge differences that, you know what I mean, some men they can't conform to it and others can, you know.
I agree, and like I said, I think it goes back to everybody's upbringing. Whereas, like, if you grew up in a diverse neighborhood and you grew up and you was going to school with them, you know what I'm saying, that's what you're used to. That's your comfort level. Whereas if you're not, you know what I'm saying, you basing your interpretations of them based off of whatever's in the media. And that's pretty much how it was for me, where it was like, stay your ass away from white women. You see what happened to OJ. You seen what happened to Kobe. Nigga, stay your ass away.
The only man to kill a white woman / white person and get away with it, by the way.
OJ.
Shout out OJ. That show come on in February. FX. OJ. February 2nd. I'm watching. But anywho. You know,
but no, I think me myself personally, I would say that I'm more open now into developing friendships with people of different nationalities, just to see, y'all you know, like Mumbles was saying, how they deal with things versus how we deal with things, and you know what are our values.
I'm telling
some of the similarities
y'all,
and some of the differences.
Look, man, I'm telling y'all, when y'all get friends of other races and other cultures, you learn so much. And then you can have those.
I got some associates that I've talked to in deep detail, but friends, no, don't have those.
That's what I'm saying though, like friends, like when you you know what I mean, because when stuff like police brutality and all this other stuff and all these dumbass stereotypes that they see, you can teach them and they can learn what's real, and you can also learn things from them. Like I said, man, they like other cultures do things so differently, like from, you know, you'll go, like a few people that I know, I'll go in their houses and I'll just be looking like, what the hell? Like, it's just so different. Like, there's no rhyme or reason. It's just everything's just put together. And, you know, I'm just like, y'all ain't got no TV. Like, y'all don't do this, y'all don't do that. So they be like, no, I'm not really into all that. I travel, I read. So I'm like, oh, okay, so that's where your money goes to, travel. And, you know what I mean? Like, oh, they like, I save, I do this, I do that. So it's like, they spend and they value things, but it's just in different forms and other ways. And they teach you how to, like, kind of like maneuver, you know, and teach you with money and all that other stuff, because, you know, but some stuff I never knew until, like, you know, and from being around them and talking to them and hanging with them, they put me on certain stuff like, yeah, you never did this, you never been here, or this or that. I'm like, no, it's like it's like they tell you, so it's like you get a snippet of their world, you know. So it's basically, but it all comes back to the environment. You know, my coworker, she's white and she's married to a Hispanic man. So you know what I mean. So it's like when I talk to her about like little racist issues, she could kind of get it because she has to deal with it now because her son's it. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody says a Hispanic joke, if somebody says a Hispanic joke, she gets offended because she's white as day, but her last name is Santiago. So, you know what I mean? It still affects her to an extent. You know, I have coworkers who adopted black kids, and when they're at school or whatever, and people coming up, they looking like, well, where's their parents? They don't see no black people. And then they're like, well, that's my son. They're like, oh, he has nice hair. You know what I'm saying? So he can identify with race issues like me. So it's like when he sees me, he treats me different now because he's raising a black man. So it's like it's so many different factors and stuff, it's just all about the environment, I feel like. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
Because if you're not taught or you're not brought up around it, you like I said, white people are oblivious. You could be in a, you know what I mean, at work with your coworker, say hi, and then you could walk in the mall, it could be your coworker, they'll walk right past you. They won't even say nothing. Because they just so oblivious, like, I got to go in here, I got to get what I got to get. Rico will be like, man, that was John. Wait till I see him tomorrow at work. I'm going to slap his ass. Like, but that's how they are. They just got a one-track mind. They just be going. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm not disputing it. But I still think that in 2016, man, it's hard to be oblivious to stuff that goes on. I think, you know, the reason most of them are is by choice. You choose not to be aware of the issues, you know what I'm saying, that we deal with. Whereas if they were facing some of the same issues on the same level as we were, they wouldn't be oblivious.
Of course not.
They would be.
Of course not. Usually a lot of people, even with our culture though, some things we oblivious to until it hits home. You know, we oblivious. You got people that's oblivious.
That's true. We notorious for that. Black people notorious
until their cousin gets shot. Then it's like all Chicago violence and this and that and blah blah. Like,
yeah.
There's some people that's with every race and culture that they become oblivious to things until it hits home. I think the same thing goes with the racial thing, with the interracial thing, or whatever the case is. So I don't know. I just think that's overall, man. We just gotta work on it as a people overall, like everybody, the human race, not just race. The human race needs to work on that. Just being kind of conscious of everything and kind of being
just being open to, you know what I'm saying,
culture.
open to how people deal with things.
So my question to you all as fathers and as black men, would you condone or would you prohibit your children from dating outside their race?
Nope, not me. I'm not stopping my kids from doing nothing they don't want to do.
Well, first
I could tell them. I give them my opinion. Yeah, I give them my opinion on it, and I could tell them, you know, I could kind of have them know some things that I feel like they should know to embrace as they go into making this type of decision. But when my kids are grown and of sound mind, I've done my job. The rest is up to you to do what you can do. You can come to me and ask me what my point of view is, and that's the most I can give you. Now, if you need my help, I can help you as best as I can, but I'm only going to give you my point of view, and you have to make the decision. So I'm not going to stop anything.
That's true. Me personally, I would. I'm not gonna say I would prohibit my sons from doing it. Like I said, I would just, knowing my wife the way that I do, she would instill in them the values, you know, of a black woman, being that a black woman raised them. You know what I'm saying? Now, if they take that and they feel like they want to explore other people of different nationalities, then that'll be their choice. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I think it has to do with your environment and what you're exposed to at an early age. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I feel like you need to kind of experience your own first before you venture out, so you have a good foundation. You know what I'm saying? So you're just not out here lost trying to emulate other people. Like, when you look at animals, you know what I'm saying? No, we're not animals, but we have very animalistic features. You don't see zebras trying to mate with giraffes. You don't see tigers trying to mate with lions. They stick to their own. And I think that's a very natural thing to do, where it's like, but at the same time, it's all about exposure when you come back to, you know, being human beings. Because like I said, at the end of the day, we've all bought into this notion that, you know, we different and it's, you know, it's a white race, it's a black race, it's Hispanic. At the end of the day, man, it's one race, it's humans. So whatever you choose to embark on and who you choose to deal with, it's a personal preference. But it is influenced by your environment. It's influenced by your economics. It's influenced, you know, by your upbringing, by your family structure, you know, just how you were raised. So, you know, it just depends on the person. You know what I'm saying? I don't hate nobody. You know, I wouldn't be mad if, you know, they brought somebody that didn't look like their mama home. Now, while I'm not for them bringing home somebody of the same sex, that's some shit I'll never accept, and that's a whole different episode.
Yeah, now that I agree with.
That's a whole different episode.
That's different story. I wasn't even gonna get into that today.
yeah, that's a whole different episode right there, bro.
As long as you like some coochie. I'm with you, boy. I will go thick and thin with you. Just stay liking that coochie, boy. You know.
So, okay, Devo, I want to touch on something you said in your explanation. So, do you feel like? So, when do you feel? You said they got to get to know their own first. So, when do you feel an individual, whether a child or not, should start becoming more diverse? Then,
I would say entering into high school, because now you're at an age where you're a young adult. You're in that teenage age,
and you can kind of form your own opinions.
Yeah, you're starting to learn how to form your own opinions. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, like even with DJ, with him going to the school that he, goes to, one of the biggest, factors of us choosing that school was the fact that it is an all-black school. You know what I'm saying? So all his teachers resemble his mother. They have hair like his mother. And it's crazy because kids are so innocent, but at the same time, the images that they see are very impactful. And I'll say that because DJ was watching Frozen. So everybody know the kid movie Frozen with Elsa and all that, and the characters in Frozen, they resemble women of European or Caucasian descent, which means they have long, flowing gold hair. So DJ, seeing that, told his mom, was like, man, you don't have hair like Elsa. And that kind of made her feel some type of way where it's like, what did my son just say to me? To where he's taking that image and thinking that this is how his mother is supposed to look at a young age. So I feel like you have to, give them that foundation first. So when he does get to that age where he's entering into high school, even though he may see a different person of another nationality that has different hair textures, he won't feel like his mother needs to look like that because of what he saw. You see what I'm saying? So I think, you have to kind of give each person a strong foundation to stand on first. And then once that happens, they can go out and make the decisions for themselves. That's just my take on it, though.
I can see that. That made good sense,
Yeah.
But I feel like, all of our races, though, too, like, if we go back in history in our race, like, we all are a mixture of something, like we not 100% black, you know what I mean? We have some other type of race in us, For example, like Charlize Theron, she's African, you know what I mean? But she's white as hell, but she's African, you know what I mean? She's from Africa, was born in Africa. The actress Charlize Theron.
I don't even know who that is.
She's a white. You can Google it. She's a white actress, but she's African. You know what I mean?
What you mean? She African?
She was born and raised in Africa.
Boy, that don't make you African.
Okay.
Boy, her ass Caucasian like a motherfucker.
It is white people that's from Africa though.
That don't make them African though.
That's my subject matter. So
it is.
so before we get cut off, because we got to wrap this up, man.
The miseducation.
We was venturing off a lot on this episode, but it's a new year. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, man. Happy New Year, man. Appreciate y'all listening. And
like I said, man, we tried something different this episode. Shout out to our engineer Tony at In Music Studios. He was kind of feeling under the weather, so because we have so many loyal,
go on.
Yeah, we got a lot of loyal listeners, you know what I'm saying? And we don't want to, penalize our listeners, so we tried something different with Blog Talk Radio. So like Rico said, the show got to go on. So we hope people continue to listen to us. Again, if you have any suggestions about topic episodes, you can email us at i94podcast@gmail.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, I94 Podcast. Like us on Facebook, I94 Podcast, Instagram, I94 Podcast, Twitter. Follow us at I94 Podcast. Fellas, y'all got any last words?
Hey, man, we all one race, man. All I can say is, man, who you love is who you love. And just embrace what comes with it, whether it comes from the outside or on the inside. That's my take.
Last word?
Basically, man, love wins, you know. Date
there you go, Obama. Love wins. Okay.
Date who you date because you love them, not for, you know what I'm saying, financial or to piss off your family and stuff like that. So I feel like I just hope that everybody, regardless who you with, you know what I mean, I just hope it's genuine.
Yeah, that's real. Like you said, Rico said, at the end of the day, we are humans. So, you know, you can't really help who you love. You know, you can have factors that influence that, but at the end of the day, whoever you love, just treat them with respect and just understand, man, that they're human just like we are, and everybody want to be loved. So, you know,
everybody needs love, man.
Everybody needs love, you know. So with that being said, man, we appreciate our listeners, you know, for tuning in to us. And this is another episode of I94 Podcast. We'll catch y'all next time.
Peace, man.
All right,
peace, man. Peace.
Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, whatever you call it, Get Covered Illinois wants you to know that you need to enroll in a health plan before January 31st. Having health insurance is the law. If you don't get coverage, you may have to pay a penalty of $695 or more. Coverage is more affordable than you think. Most people can find monthly premiums for $75 or less. Go to getcoveredillinois.gov or call 866-311-1119 to get free in-person help. That's 866-311-1119. Enroll today.